moves from conversation to contribution. We'll be debating, deliberating, and producing real policy outputs together. Before we begin, just a few reminders. Phones on silent, please. Our team is here to help with anything that you need. And if you haven't already, do connect with the fellow attendees. That is the whole point. The caliber of people in this room is simply extraordinary. Before we begin, I also want to say a few words of thanks to our sponsors, the Atlantic Fellows for Social and Economic Equity, the OC Justice Initiative, the LSE Data Science Institute, and LSE Department of Management. Furthermore, we would also like to thank our donors, the Ella and Ramesh Vala Charitable Foundation, for their generous donation. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't have been able to make this possible. Now, hopefully, if you go to the top side of the room, you'll be able to move down so that we can fill up this space and really engage. It's a very interactive day, so I want some energy, so let's give a round of applause. I now present our debaters for today's debate. This House believes that AI greater threat to Africa's development than a tool for it. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ruthu Team, and I'll be taking over as your moderator for the rest of the day now. Now, this is a session I've really been looking forward to, actually, and we're about to stage a formal debate on one of the most consequential questions facing the continent. On one side, the argument that AI represents Africa's greatest opportunity, a demographic dividend amplifier for the youngest continent on Earth. On the other, the argument that without safeguards, AI poses a structural risk to jobs, to sovereignty, and to equity. This debate will be moderated by Tosin Adibesi, and I'd ask that we keep the energy really high as much as we can. This is meant to be a vigorous exchange, and please be respectful, but do not hold back on your convictions. So over to you, Tosin.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Perfect. Let's start. First of all, I need better energy than that. This is the inter-university debate, so make some noise, please. Excellent, excellent. Today, I'm going to be your host, and I can promise you, this is going to be memorable. You've had a day yesterday of debates and conversations with the speakers, but this time is the time for the youth to have their say on the topic. This is why we have the inter-university debates, where we move from debates to conversations, and we place young people at the center of that conversation. Because if you guys are not inputting into this and having your say, then what's the point? Okay, so today I'm delighted to tell you, it's going to be a friendly debate. And we have two teams, Team Imperial and Team LSE. Now, I know we're at home advantage, so LSE people try and tone it down a little bit with the enthusiasm. And I want to see a show of amazing love when we bring our debaters on, okay? There is a bit of an history with these two teams. Last year, I was actually at Cambridge, and I moderated the debates there. Team LSE and Team Imperial represented Team London and debated Oxbridge. We did not win. And last month, I was at Imperial, where we also had another debate with Imperial, Cambridge, Oxford, and LSE. I'm not going to tell you who won. But here we are again. I can tell you that there is no love lost. It will be friendly in name only. Expect zingers, expect a lot of memory lines, but more importantly, expect a lot of conversations that will be robust, critical, and balanced. Now, on that note, I welcome you to the inter-university debate. Round of applause for our debaters as I call them up. Now, come up, debaters. Team LSE, can we see you, please? Give a round of applause for them. Team LSE are representing the proposition, by the way. You all have the topics, but I will read them for you again. Team Imperial, make some noise. I want a big one for them. Perfect. Excellent. I And we have our fantastic judges. I think we should recognize them in the audience. Are they sat? Are we doing that? Okay, just carry on. All right, so you're going to meet the audience. Now, just as a disclaimer, I work at the LSE. I lead the program for African leadership here, but you'll be pleased to know that I don't get to debate, decide the winners at all. The judges are going to do that, and you're going to meet them in a bit. We're going to have a people's choice, and then we're going to have a judge's choice, and we're going to try and give some time for you all to have your say and contribute to the conversation. Okay? So, just to remind you of the motion, before we get started, my timekeeper, my trusted timekeeper is here. Nadia. Perfect. Thank you, Nadia. So we're going to be very strict with the timing, as you know. This is the motion, for your reminder. This House believes that AI is a greater threat to Africa's development than a tool for it. Very, very interesting topic. I think you all have a view on that. We also get to take a poll. Is that ready, Aisha? Nadia, are we able to do a pre-poll or not? Are we doing that? A pre-poll. Are we doing the poll? No, we're not doing that. Okay. Don't worry. So leave that. We just skip that part. So on that note, you all have 5 minutes each, team. So we're going to start with the opening proposition, and we're going to start with Team LSE. And that will be you, Maxwell?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you literally have 5 minutes. Nadia, are you taking? Your time starts. Do you want to come up here? Please. And she will tell you when to start.
Hello.
You have 5
Hello,
minutes. Your
hello.
time starts now.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Large language models have become the defining technology of our generation. Every person in this room has probably used one, either to write an essay, to prepare for an interview, or maybe even for this summit. From Claude to Gemini, even to ChatGPT, which I know is my colleague from Imperial, JP's favorite, as we've had conversations about it. But let's talk a little more about these tools. A woman in Nairobi named Angela made ChatGPT possible. She classified descriptions of child abuse, rape, and murder so that the AI that you and I use would be safe. She was paid less than $2 an hour and now has PTSD. OpenAI is valued at over $150 billion, yet she cannot afford basic therapy. That is the story of AI in Africa. We use it and someone else owns it, and someone else always pays the price. So let me be explicit about our burden of proof. Development means building the capacity to do things for yourself. If a technology makes you more independent, it is a tool. And if it makes you more dependent, it is a threat. We will prove that AI makes Africa more dependent, not more capable. My first argument is that AI extracts from Africa while the value is captured elsewhere. My second is that AI deepens dependency rather than building capability. Aisha will respond to Imperial and close our case. So my first argument, Africa provides the inputs, others capture the value. AI runs on hardware, and that hardware needs cobalt. The DRC supplies over 70% of the world's cobalt, much of it mined by children. Yet the country has zero refining capacity. The raw mineral leaves, the finished chip returns at 1,000 times the price. NVIDIA's market cap is $4.4 trillion. The DRC entire GDP is 82 billion. That is 54 to 1. But it's not just minerals. Kenyan workers labeled ChatGPT's training data for under $2 an hour. WorldCoin bought 300,000 Kenyan iris scans for $55 each before the court shut it down. The US and China controls over 90% of global AI compute, while less than 1% of data centers sit on African soil. PwC projects AI will add $15.7 trillion to global GDP by 2030. North America and China will take 70%, and Africa's share is just a rounding error. This is cobalt instead of rubber, data instead of cotton, algorithms instead of railways. Africa provides the raw material and the West sells back the finished product. AI does not break this pattern, it rather perfects it. And now my second argument is that AI makes Africa need others more, not less. Test it against our standard. We switch off the foreign service tomorrow. Can Africa still diagnose malaria? No, because the algorithm, the cloud, and the data centers are all abroad. Remove ChatGPT. Can African students still think critically? 90% of children in sub-Saharan Africa cannot read by age 10. And Microsoft found that 40% of workers apply no critical thinking at all when using AI. We are handing a dependency tool to a continent that already lacks foundational skills. Only 36% of Africans also have internet access. AI literacy is a fraction of that. A tiny elite pulls ahead while everyone else falls behind. And AI performs up to 45% worse in African languages, forcing students to use it in the language of their former colonizer. That is not independence. That is dependency with a touchscreen. A tool you cannot build, cannot maintain, cannot switch off, and cannot govern is not a tool. It is a leash, and Africa is on the other end of it. So let me weigh this debate. Development is independent. On extraction, Africa provides the minerals, the data, and the labor, yet the value leaves. On capability, we switch off the foreign infrastructure and the capability vanishes with it. On every measure, AI makes Africa more dependent, not more capable. Imperial will offer you healthcare apps and drone deliveries, but potential is not power. Pilots serve thousands, and the extraction architecture serves trillions to somewhere else and someone else. Thank you.
Testing. Hello. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, your time starts now.
Hello, everyone. Look past the headlines. Look past the fear. Look past every policy paper ever written about this continent and tell me what you see. Across this continent, there are 1.4 billion stories, but you only have time for 3. Nuru, a 17-year-old girl from South Sudan. 1 classroom, 60 students, no books. She's not a statistics. She's an African future, and she is being neglected. Adam farms in northern Ghana, and he's the same way his ancestors did. He understands the rain, he understands the weather, he understands everything. But he will not understand whether the harvest will favor him or put his entire family in debt. Shade, a nurse in Lagos, has watched patients die multiple times because of promised drugs and medicine, which have been pilfered by politicians and so many people. She stays. Why? Because of no one else would. 3 lives, not failures of people, but of systems never built to scale, never built to serve the continent with a median age of 19.7 and the fastest growing population on earth. So when this house asks whether AI is a threat to African development, we must first ask, what is development? It is not GDP figures, nor donor reports. Development is Nuru becoming everything she's capable of. Adam building wealth from the land beneath his feet. Shade walking inside the system that finally works for her. That is our standard. And on that standard, AI is not a threat, but rather a tool. My partner, Mesha, will show you how 3 pillars, 3 answers, 1 solution for each.
Well, Maxwell mentioned earlier about the fact that 89% of children in sub-Saharan Africa cannot read by age 10. Additionally, from the same website, UNICEF, 30 million African youth are currently not in education, employment, or training. What we have here is a huge structural issue, and this can only be solved by scalable technology. And AI is going to be is a savior for this particular problem. We have the youngest and fastest growing population in human history, actually. The structural risk would be rejecting AI instead of embracing it, as this technology is something that can solve the problems that the continent is currently facing. AI tutors can help scale one-to-one learning and augment teaching, and with mobile penetration and edge inferencing methods, even in places where the infrastructure is not where it needs to be right now. Since 75% of Africans already have mobile phones, we can reach even the most rural areas and help those people who need the education access it most. And with African-centered AI that is already being developed, like Masakane, African language support can help students learn in local languages, subjects, so that they can help improve their human capital and continue development. In terms of productivity in the African continent, Africa's problem, as mentioned yesterday by the Vice President, is not a lack of talent, but in fact a lack of investment. If we can invest more, we can improve productivity, and AI is supposed to be a productivity booster in Africa. The African Development Bank has projected $1 trillion, that is not a rounding area, $1 trillion of GDP boost by 2035 by AI-led productivity, and 58% of these total gains are projected to be in key African sectors such as agriculture, finance, and health. African workers would benefit from AI-driven credit scoring and weather forecasts for yield cropping and other sorts of things, which can help impact and help grow Africa. Finally, the problems you mentioned earlier in relation are a problem of governance and not actually a cause of AI. The African Union has already led a declaration on artificial intelligence, and all 54 African countries are moving in tandem and moving together in order to solve issues around sovereignty and ownership. National AI policies are already emerging in key countries such as Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana. And we are seeing the fastest governance response in history in comparison to previous technological revolutions. Weaker institutions will require artificial intelligence, not less.
In Africa, names have meanings. I ask you again, look past the headlines, look past the fear, look past every policy paper ever written about this continent and tell me what you see. I see Nuru has found her light. Edom found his salvation. Sade earned her crown. That is what AI in Africa's hands looks like. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Now, those are their openings, and then we get to the fun part, the part I like the most, the rebuttals. If you debated when you were in school in Africa, you probably know that phrase, I hope they've convinced you and not confused you with these few words of mine. So we're going to see what they then have to say to unpack what each of their opponents have said so far. So we have the first rebuttal going to Team LSE. You can stay there and have a chat, friends.
Okay.
And let them have it.
Okay. Thank you, Team Imperial. It's very interesting looking into 3 different Africans from across the continent. And I'm going to touch on each of those stories. Let's start with the girl from Sudan. We speak about AI being able to combat the issue of education using AI tutors. But what happens when there is a total digital divide? You say 75% of Africans have phones. I'm not quite sure where you got those stats from, considering the global average of internet access is actually 74%, with 94% being in high-income countries and Africa having an average of 36%. For context, in the Central African Republic, 27% of average monthly income goes towards data. I'm not quite sure AI is the way forward in order to be able to provide an education to Nuru. Let's speak about the economist Danny Roderick's theories on premature deindustrialization and premature industrialization. I'll start with premature industrialization. In a continent where there is very little internet access, how is the leapfrog from no internet access at all to AI tutors going to work? It's structurally impossible. And I love the fact that you have spoken about systems failing without structure and not being able to scale. So let's talk about Adam from Ghana. Yes, Adam understands the rain, But how about Adam's children? Adam's children think once, they get access to the internet, they leave the farm. Farming is totally out of the picture. They'd rather create AI slop on YouTube to be able to get their monetization and earn $100 a month. These systems that you believe that AI is able to build, we have seen it firsthand, even in the Western world where they have alternatives. It's simply impossible. We can't skip industrialization and go into deindustrialization when our manufacturing sectors don't even work. The same way countries have become reliant on oil and left their other exports, we are further perpetuating this by going with AI. What happens to the systems that we have that is growing from our ground? I'll now go to Shade. Her patients are dying because of a failing system. You don't prefer AI as a solution to the failing systems because, as you've said, it's a governance issue. But how about the governance issues that come from extraction? The people that build the AIs, they don't train the AIs on African data. As you've said, Angela's job is to moderate the AI, not to train the AI on African data. So tell me, when these systems that are built in the Western world are not considering us and only 8% of investment into it globally is coming to us to share with Oceania and less income Asia, how exactly is AI supposed to help our development and not continue being a threat to it?
Are we good? Are you done?
Yes.
Perfect. So you've got.
Or
your
do I still have time?
I think you still have a few more minutes.
Okay. I'm going to speak a little bit more to the extraction. A little bit more to the extraction. We all know what is happening in DRC Congo. In case you don't know, a lot of the energy, a lot of the elements used to create the energy used to power these AI tools are derived from Congo. The problem is only starting. They are taking elements from these countries without looking back. We've seen this happen before. This is not a new concept. We've seen what Shell has done in the Niger Delta. We've seen what is going on in Congo. This is just the beginning of large learning models. So it's very, very important for us to understand that while a lot is being extracted from our continent, not much is being put back in. So it is very important for us to face reality that as much as AI can create developments in Africa, it's more of a threat because, as we've seen time and time again, and it behooves us to look to history to learn how to move forward, it's a bigger threat to development than it is as a tool to development. Thank you.
I think your time is actually finally up now. Brilliant. Okay, round of applause for Professor Bottle. Excellent. All right, so Imperial, you're going to have 5 minutes. I'm sure you're not going to let her get away and talk to you guys like that. So let them have it.
Firstly, I would like to fact check. You said 75% of Africans have access to, we said mobile phones, not internet. Mm-hmm. Mobile phones and internet are two different species entirely. So please make that clear. So yes, 75% of Africans have access to mobile phones. AI doesn't specifically work by having an internet access. We have seen technology that enables SIM cards, SMS, through large data sets and AI infrastructure are now shrunk into small SMS, which have been implemented in places like Kenya and some other countries in Africa. You also stated how AI isn't trained for the African person. How else would it be trained if we never adopted it in the first place? I just understand that. Let me just confirm, let me just clear something up that you have made your central point of argument from the beginning. The framing of AI as a dominant in itself is a Western imposition. I think that is very wrong. Africa has two options, participate or don't. If we do not participate, it's over. This goes back to the previous ages, guns. Every single technological development in the world came from the West, and they were very much physical in nature. Before they could get to Africa, it took time, effort, manpower to move. But AI is the first time in history that Africa actually has a fighting chance to survive and stand on their own. Please take note of that. Again, you said that I need to confirm something again. The Western culture, we need to, comparison is a thief of joy. That's a very clear fact. The Western society and economy are focused on more of a formal sector. Africa is more informal in nature. 85% of Africa is in the informal sector, as opposed to the Western culture. So the marginal benefits from implementing AI is way more than the 1% that happens in the Western world. You claim AI is coming to steal jobs in Africa. How can it steal what does not exist? It's an informal sector. It is a clear fact. Let me explain it in a very key detail. AI cannot directly farm what Aisha is doing. AI cannot go and steal what James and John are doing every single day in their life. What AI can rather do is help them to achieve what they could not achieve with the failed governance and the failed system that was already there. AI is not the issue. The issue is the what's it called, imposition that AI is a threat when AI is meant to be there to try and help already failing systems to even survive. Thank you. I'll pass on to Michelle.
Yes. To be honest, he's mentioned everything that I would need to say. You mentioned earlier about leapfrogging, but an example of this is with mobile banking. In Kenya, we know about the company M-Pesa, which leapfrogged from taking people who are unbanked and using on mobile phones in order to do payments and banking payments online. We've seen that actually checked earlier today, most of global payments, about 60%, are done in Africa through mobile phones, even though mobile phones were introduced in the West a lot earlier. And a key difference with this technology is the fact that artificial intelligence, or these large language models, are a weightless technology. They're open source, meaning that they can be adapted. I'm sure many of you have heard about DeepSeek in China and how the technology was used there by a couple of Chinese students who are able to take that Western technology and adapt it for their population. It is a necessity for Africa to take this technology and apply it to our own continent and make it specifically for our needs. We have seen evidence, companies like Masakane, I mentioned them earlier, they are taking open source, they're taking data sets, African data sets, and training data on it. And with the nature of artificial intelligence and machine learning, the more data that we can acquire, the better the systems become. It is simply a matter of time. And it is imperative, actually, that we implement artificial intelligence and AI into Africa as soon as possible, so that way the systems can adapt and help the population in the ways they need it most. And Pandora's box has already been opened. AI is here to stay. We can't close our eyes and sing Kumbaya and hope that everything's going to be okay. We need to adapt and take this technology now, or risk being left behind again. That is all.
Wow. Okay. Very good. It's getting lively. We've got Maxwell. You going to do another rebuttal, or you just want to close?
Are we allowed to?
Yeah.
Audience.
Yeah, just your closing. Yeah.
It's audience Q&A.
You don't want to do your closing yet, so okay.
No, it's audience Q&A.
All right, so the audience first. All right, so I was sure you're gonna get them to the close, then we'll come back to you guys. Do we have all our three judges here? So, Kayode, judges, anywhere? Where are the other judges? Okay. All right, fine, we'll carry on. So this is the time for the audience to have a say in this conversation. You've all heard what they've said. I always say one of the things for the debate, why we do them so much at P4, is holding two conflicting opinions in mind is so important, especially today in the world we live in. And I think, just so you know, they may not necessarily believe what we've given them, but they've debated it. This Imperial took it to another level, but they were really, you think they genuinely believed it. And that's the power of being able to do your research. It can make you either you believe more in what you believe in, or you change your opinion. So this is where you guys come in and tell us what you think. Now, you can have 30 seconds. If it's going longer than 30 seconds, that's becoming a PhD proposal. So you get where I mean. We've seen questions like that yesterday. So let's get some sense from you guys, and let's hear what you guys have to say. Question, comments? What? Yeah. Do we get mics going around?
Hello, thank you so much for your debate. You had really interesting arguments. I have a first question, maybe. I don't know if I have to address to one team or, okay, so for the Imperial team, I do agree in the potential. I mean, there's a huge potential, have made that clear for AI, and also in the fact that you cannot really escape from it because it's already in the continent. But you talked about, like, for example, the huge gaps in education and a lot of sectors in Africa. But if there's, like, we were talking about investment, about funds, if there's gaps already in funding for example, for education, how are you gonna, like, I mean, it's beautiful, like in theory, like, oh yes, like let's just put funds for the AI in development, but like if there's gaps already for like all those sectors before, where are those funds coming from? Like,
Well, to answer that question, the African Development Bank has pledged to invest 60 billion US dollars into AI across Africa. And the nature of AI as a scalable technology is that the marginal cost of, I suppose, implementing it is rather low. And that is more to say that once the technology is there and it is being created, it is a matter of distribution. And unlike investing in like teachers or like equipment or physical equipment, which needs to be carried around, once the software is developed and can be, I suppose, downloaded onto a mobile device or put onto computers on the web, this can access all corners of the globe, and this can help solve Africa's issue in education. And so essentially it is, we can do more. You can get more bang for your buck. You know, with less money put in, you can get a higher return on your investment.
And I think just to top up on that from the investment point of view, actually, there has been a large pool of investment into the African economy when it comes to AI implementation, because of, unlike the Western, or unlike the West and other places, Africa actually has the resources that can manage these AI facilities, which the West cannot. So it's technically like a double-edged sword where they need the resources from here, but unfortunately they can't take it out like they've done in the past. So now it has to be inbuilt and kept with us, in my opinion. So from that, they are putting in large amounts of money and investment into Africa. Also, all African countries have also signed, governments have also signed an AI
Declaration last year.
Yes. So this is the first time that all African countries are on the same page when it comes to a new technology. The first time. So it shows that they really do care, and there is definitely benefit from it. Thank you.
We have the gentleman over there, and then we have you.
I'll be quick. Thank you so much for a very stimulating debate. Team LSE is this team, right? I thought they were speaking a lot to ownership, right? So in my Karaichan language, I come from Zimbabwe, that there's a proverb that says, I'll be quick, that says, if someone lend you a cow, so enjoy milk with the knowledge that the owner can come anytime and collect their cow, right? So they're talking about ownership, and that the infrastructure upon which we build these models can be switched off or can be taken away anytime. I didn't hear this group responding to that. I tried to, or maybe I missed something.
So let's keep it short because I want to take as many questions as we can. I mean, your responses,
Yes.
I mean.
I suppose it's us to respond to this one, right? Well, the difference is with these AI technologies, they're open source. Well, they can be open source. So the idea is once the technology is already out there and people can learn it, we can start creating our own systems. And with all the African governments working together, we can create country-specific systems that are not controlled from the West or the East, but controlled in country. Like if it was downloaded, say the government of Nigeria decided to create their own AI agent that will help them with electricity infrastructure or other things like that. Once you've downloaded it and it's on your computer, no one else in the world can access it. Suppose if it's as you've downloaded the software, it's a different case. Unlike previous physical technology, say like a factory or a car, they can come back for it. It's on your computer. It's the same way if you own something on your phone and you've downloaded it to your phone, unless you put it on the internet or unless it's connected to a cloud, no one else can really take it unless they take the phone itself. So in matters of sovereignty, the fact that the African Union have met up and made sovereignty one of their clear goals when it comes to this technology and protecting African data, we can be assured that this time it can be different if proper governance and proper leadership is put in place regarding this.
Excellent, thank you. So the young man over here, was that had your hands up? And I would like to take a lady, actually. So you first, and then we take a lady. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your insight. I'll try to keep the question short because it's quite similar to the previous man. It seems that a big question is on agency, on ownership, that LSE is kind of saying that the value created won't stay directly for Africans, it will be exported. I wanted your maybe direct response to that. And towards LSE, there is still value being created, especially on a micro level. So how do you try to balance that trade-off in a realistic manner? And maybe my final point would just to be this revolution is still being led by the West. It's being led by global companies such as Google, Meta, and we do not have the equivalent on the African continent. So how can we even lead that revolution?
Okay, so want to take it?
So I think my answer to that question is there are three answers to it. You said this is actually a very big problem, ownership, yes. So like my papa said, Meshach, he said that AI is open sourced. So the nature of it being open sourced means that it is for everyone. And also DeepSeek making AI completely free as well means that anybody, even not a local farmer, because they don't have the technology per se to handle that at this current stage, but being open source means that they can take the necessary key tools and make it their own or independently theirs. That is like what you said, the Chinese
DeepSeek, that's exactly what they did, yes.
So another thing on that is your second point was on what was second?
The West leading.
Yes, the West leading the whole revolution or change in the AI structure. Like I said before, it's inevitable. There are some things we can't not stop. We just can't. We cannot be hiding, talking our tails in the back and watching the same thing happen on and on and on. One thing Africa is good at is adapting and growing at a very exponential pace. This is AI. AI too is another exponential growth in general. So it matches our productivity, our nature in general. My point here is this. There are actually 3 companies now that are making AI indoors. An example is InstaDeep. So InstaDeep was founded in 2014 by Tunis, by a person named Zora. So they are building advanced AI in healthcare. This is by Africa for Africans. And with the signing of
all 54 countries.
All 54 countries of Africa, it makes it more difficult for this information and data to be extracted out of Africa without there being consequences to it. So like I said, Africans are actually more wiser than they were before. Once bitten, twice shy. So they're learning from their mistakes and they're trying to solve and cut the issues of the West overcompensating or taking what belongs to us. Thank you.
It's okay. That's really, because I know there was a question directed at you guys as well.
Yes.
Do you want to take that quickly?
Yeah. Just to clarify, you're asking about how do we balance the value being created on the continent and staying on the continent. Is that what you're asking? Okay. So a lot of the discussion around AI, especially coming from Team Imperial, has been about the potential of it. And we also see the potential of AI on the continent. However, we want to look at the reality. What can we actually control, not as a hypothesis, but as a reality? Let's look at the case of Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore has put in policies in place and systems and structures in place to ensure that the critical minerals that are being taken from Burkina Faso are being processed to a good extent in the country before they're being exported. That is what African governments have in their power, to be able to take the one advantage they have over the Western world, which is the minerals that are necessary to build these systems and ensure that they're getting maximum value from it. So while on the consumer side, on the business side, and the micro level, businesses, students, individuals are able to benefit from using large language models, it's very important for the government to take full advantage of the critical minerals. And I believe that is the best way for us to balance the equation.
And just
okay,
just a little addition. So the question really is, how many Ibrahim Traores are there in Africa? And so how many of our leaders are actually going to take that step, though, to be able to own our resources? That is the main thing that we have been trying to argue, that a lot of you in the audience have already seen. we don't own these resources like we think we do. And Imperial hasn't done the job of talking about that enough and so basically, just to sum up, we do believe in the potential of AI. AI is going to create a lot of value for the world, for Africa, yes. But the question today is, this house believes that AI is a greater threat. We do believe that it is a greater threat because of the extraction models that we have seen time and time and time again. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, we take, oh boy. How many minutes can we do? Can we take 2? I know that that's young. I'm so sorry, but she was first. And I know there's a man there who's not, if he's going to catch me outside this room, he's not going to forgive me. So that's a young man in white. So please.
Great. Thank you for such an interesting debate. I wanted to go back to a point that Team LSE made that I thought was really interesting, which was talking about sort of like leapfrogging through that infrastructure and how, because of the disparity of the kinds of jobs that might emerge with AI, that it might be difficult for people to avoid falling into the temptation of doing work that is potentially like meaningless, creating AI slop just to be able to make more money. How then can you ensure that the kinds of work that comes out of implementing AI actually increases productivity and like sustainably and actually able to close that that gap between vulnerable populations, as opposed to just kind of buying into this narrative that AI is always going to increase productivity endlessly?
Okay. So you just take the second one at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good debate. I think I was expecting LSE to throw more punchlines. So I think when we talk about AI, in relation to the world, but specifically Africa, there is no, I didn't see any debate about the potential existential threats that AI poses, especially if you look in relation to Africa and ultimately how ready are we for AI? Because we don't know the impact. There's a huge, significant unknown. And what everybody just saying is embrace AI, embrace AI. But what's the impact and how is that going to affect, transform negatively or positively, in respect to the other argument, negatively, the lives of people as a whole, right? From employment to, because we're talking about, development. I think it's a very big argument. And I just felt that, yeah, it's something that should be, well presented.
Okay, so we could get some quick responses from both teams.
LSE was addressed first.
Yeah, there were 2 questions, so take whichever one you feel comfortable with.
I think I'm happy to answer that question there.
Yeah,
But
that's your question.
yes, you mentioned about how do we make sure that the productivity of AI is actually, because AI promises all these productivity boosts, but how do we ensure that it's actually productive? Well, this is not a fault of AI, but this is more AI implementation. And we've seen that African governments have made effective AI implementation a priority. And furthermore, whoops.
Okay. Like Meshach was trying to say, the implementation of AI is not. We're talking about one. This is the argument. Remember, AI being a threat or not. Now, like I said before, there are already pre-existing systematic and structural issues in Africa. And the AI coming into Africa is not the cause of what happens there, because of that was already existent from the beginning. They have made some measures to try and make own AI and make it more Africa and more, moderated in that sense. But unfortunately, this is the reality of it. Where AI comes and stops is how far the government would want to implement, how far the government would want to manage and own that environment is in itself. So this is a structural issue that AI doesn't have that much information to answer by itself, but it's left to the people and the government to see the benefits of it themselves. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Because I need some stand-up.
Wait,
I'm a little bit more concerned about the fact that if this technology exists and like people will adopt it however they see fit, but how do you avoid people falling into that temptation of like, let's say like as Aisha mentioned, that you can make like 50 times more than what people around you are making if you just post online videos made by AI slop as opposed to like actually using it for good. Like how do you avoid that temptation and build the literacy for it?
You're not debating her, you know. It's, you don't need to. You need to take one more question. My team has been so good; they're able to take a couple more. Hallelujah Sunday. So please, can we take one or two more
Let me
questions?
just round that up quickly.
No.
Let me just round that up quickly. We're talking about productivity. So a person making money from YouTube or money from TikTok, is that not still being productive? Is there a crime in that, if I may ask?
Development.
I'm genuinely confused because I'm genuinely confused. Isn't that enough of a form of productivity?
And
Africa's development.
And furthermore, if 85% of the African labor force is in informal work, that's just not going to be, I don't see that being a problem. Like people uploading YouTube videos. With an introduction of a technology like this, which can help with weather forecasting and crop yields and help individuals access AI-driven credit scoring, I don't think a few individuals just creating AI slop videos online is going to be any significant downside whatsoever. It's like people posting memes on the internet. It's not a threat at all.
The slop was already there to begin with, and from the West, so I'm confused.
We just have AI-enhanced slop.
It was always there.
So, Team LSE, do you want to take a reply to the young man's question?
Yes, I guess it was more of a comment, but of course, I would say that we totally agree. I think what you're trying to say is that we didn't hit on it as much. That is the basis of our whole debate. I mean, what's an existential threat? It's a danger that poses a risk to the continued existence, survival, or a fundamental way of life of humanity, right? That is essentially what we are saying that greater threat from AI is. Well, 40,000 children in Congo do the mining of cobalt, right? And cobalt is extremely important for AI to be able to exist in this day and age, right? We spoke about Angela and the fact that she has PTSD and was only paid $2 an hour. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is worth over $150 billion, right? Between Africa and the West, there's going to be a huge gap with AI, with LLMs, with artificial general intelligence, and where the world is going. And even in Africa, those who have access to this already, there's going to be a huge divide as well. And so if you don't see how inequality is going to bring about potential derailing of society, then today maybe we didn't do the job well in showing you how AI is actually a greater threat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, can you give them a round of applause, everybody? Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to withdraw that additional question. My team has said we've got to wrap up. So what I would say is please keep the conversation going outside of here. Keep talking, chat with them. But you have your 1 minute to close each. 1 minute straight.
1 minute straight, okay.
Wait.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah, all right.
Are we ready? All right, go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to our debate. I want to thank Team Imperial for their passion, clearly well-researched points. But I want to point out the fact that all they spoke about was potential. We can, it can, they can create this AI agents and whatnot. We also believe in the potential of AI. Trust me, I really do. I use it for my assignments, of course. But we need to look at the reality on the ground. Let's also talk about the fact that Imperial never addressed the extraction point, the cobalt, the data labor, $15.7 trillion to Silicon Valley, uncontested. Every example they also gave run on foreign servers, foreign capital, foreign infrastructure that proved our case. It is not a tool, and it is dependency. And Imperial also told you that Pandora's box is open. We agree, but remember what was inside. Hope was last. We've shown you what came out first. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Team Imperial, when you 1 second. Okay, you start.
I believe our closing statement is fairly simple. We cannot run away from something that already exists. We cannot. This is our reality. Whether you want to adopt AI or not, if you don't adopt it, you are going to lose badly. We need to adopt this AI to understand, grow. We cannot always let the West be the ones that decide the factors. And because of we are afraid of growth and development, we say, no, this is not for us. Let us keep it to them. That is going to harm us better. You talk about divide. If they have access to every single form of AI or LLMs or whatever, that is the real divide, because they're going to train it more on themselves, better for themselves. And frankly speaking, the divide will stretch so bad to the point that Africa reverts back to whatever age it was before. This is the one time that we have the opportunity to learn alongside them, be it through trick or through accurate measures. This is the one time that we're on the same or similar playing field to them. We have talent, we have the skills, we can develop this for ourselves. Yes, it is all about prospects or thinking about assumptions about the future or whatever. Rome was not built in a day. Africa was not either built in a day. It takes time. This is a long run effect. This is LSE. You know about all this type of thing. London School of Economics and Political Science. And we know short run usually fails for most economic models, but in the long run, they survive. So AI, in my opinion, can be a long run or long-term growth for the African society and economy. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to have Professor Joe Ademola with us. He's going to give us the synthesis next. And then after that, we're going to know how they did. So could we have a round of applause again and bring on Professor Ademola.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Professor Joe Ademola. I quickly want to spend few minutes. I won't bug you too much. We spend about 10, 15 minutes on the post synthesis or the debate synthesis. Kindly permit me to engage with my note, because at this level, you need to engage with your note in order to. I think you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So that I won't be speaking of the script as usual, with many years of experience. When you want to do a synthesis like this, you need to be focused. What I want us to, I need to bend it now. Okay. Or give it to the mouth.
I don't know this. Hello?
Excuse me, please.
Oh, okay, microphone. Yeah.
Okay. What's this? Let me start with this quote. Technology is never neutral. It reflects the choices, values, and power structures of those who design and deploy it. Remember yesterday, I reminded the audience that, for example, I developed the first AI in 1991. You've forgotten. Those of you are here. And I used European I use European data on periodic table, and I came up with generative as both as projective side of periodic table. So technology is never neutral. It reflects the choices, values, power structure of those who design and deploy it. Now, the debate today, the inter-university debate between the London School of Economics and Imperial is a significant one, ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished judges, esteemed debater from both sides, the LSE and Imperial, and member of our audience who ask questions, and the larger team. What we have witnessed today is not ordinary in itself. It's far more than a contest of intellect. You agree with me that it has been a thoughtful demonstration of how the next generation of scholars, innovators, and policymakers are engaging, especially from our continent, Africa, and the impact it's going to make on the global AI strategies. That's the defining questions of our time. The depth of the argumentation, that is the light of clarity, of reasoning and the ethical awareness displayed on both sides reflect a level of maturity and preparation worthy of institutions as distinguished as LSE and Imperial. I'm aware that this has taken an Oxford style of debate. Each team approached the motion with rigor. We saw analytical precision where evidence was matured with confidence and clarity. We saw on both sides what I term as strategic framing, with argument refined to illuminate the broader societal implications. And importantly, we saw ethical awareness, a crucial requirement when debating themes that has to do with the impact of AI, either through governance, power, and the future of humanity. And what other things I note here is this. It becomes more clearer that AI is an invention of humanity. Algorithms are written by humans. So debate like this reminds us that disagreement, when conducted with respect and intellectual honesty, becomes a catalyst, deeper understanding rather than division. Both teams have demonstrated that it is possible to argue passionately while remaining grounded in fairness, logic, and a commitment to truth. Based on all these insights shared today, I also want to echo clearly a broader message. This is it. The future of governance, whether in technology, society, or public policy, require leaders who can synthesize complexity, negotiate competing values, and still arrive at solutions that promote the common good. From what we have seen here, I am confident both institutions are nurturing such leaders. Before I proceed with further responsibility, allow me to also commend each speaker within the team for their composure under pressure, for their responsiveness to critique, and for their ends in victory or learning. Every participant live with this audience, enhance intellectual discipline, and that on its own ultimately is the true reward of debate. Let me close this synthesis by reminding you that AI will not determine African future. African choices, our values, and leadership we do. Thank you very much for listening. Not taking much of it.
Is that still working? Yeah, there we go. So thank you again, Prof, for that brilliant synthesis. So this is where you guys get to vote. Now, I'm just going to sum up some of the conversation we've heard so far. AI promises acceleration, 100%. That's clear. But to what? Where are we accelerating to? And I think that's the context in which you should consider voting. You know, there are people that might just like their faces, like their smiles, but let's base it purely on have they persuaded you today. So please go ahead and vote. And your vote will pick the people's choice for today's winner. Sure.
No, so,
Yes, please.
oh, sorry. Oh, completely move.
What is this?
Like all of us.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. And I just remembered, you know, how many LSE people are here? Huh? So please, forget your LSE and just vote as normal. Okay, so we're closing that now. Please, if you haven't voted, a few more seconds. And then we're moving to, first speaker. Okay, so the next slide is going to be for your best speaker for today. So
it should come up on your phone.
yeah, so if you go to the same place, you should see another slide to vote for best speaker for today. That should come up as well. Can you see it? Yeah, please vote. All right, guys, you want to? Yeah. Where is LSE people? Aisha and Maxwell, do you want to come back?
Aisha was sitting there. Maxwell was sitting.
So let them go back to sit where you were for a minute, so that they can just see you. Apologies. Aisha, Maxwell, do you want to come back real quick? Aisha, sit where you were. Maxwell, where you were. Yes.
My bad.
Okay, do you want to tell them your name from Imperial?
Hello, everyone. My name is John Paul from Imperial.
My name is Mishak from Imperial.
My name is Maxwell from LSE.
My name is Aisha Abuluaje from LSE.
Brilliant. Okay, please vote.
They're fully scanned already. So we can just stay. Maybe I should vote.
No, there's a technical glitch.
Nah, leave it like that. I think it's fine.
No, please, that's brilliant. No, don't change it, please. That's amazing. Please give a round of applause for Tim Imperial. And our best debater, our best speaker today is John Paul. Give a round of applause to John Paul.
Hello, my name is Kayode, and I'll be doing the final announcement for the winner. And let me quickly say my qualifications why I think I'm qualified to do this. So I worked with the United Nations Development Program on artificial intelligence landscape assessment in Africa, and I work with virtually all countries on the continent. So yeah, so I think for Team LSE, the total score is 49. We have score of over 60 years. So a round of applause for them. And for Team Imperial, 56 over 60. So congratulations, Team Imperial, for winning this debate. Thank you.
Okay, you're gonna get your certificate, Team Imperial. Sorry, come out. So Paul, let's give you first. Take some for you. Third, come and stand up. So this is just you. Perfect. We'll go here. All right, best team. Team Imperial, come on, join your friend. Perfect. Hold it together, hold it together. And the last one, stay there because you guys have won it again. Coyote, your. Oh, this is which one is this one? Oh, best debater. Okay. Not sure. So the two of you. Okay, so we have two. Okay. All right. So another one for you. Yeah, just people